After the slick Hollywood deception of Operation Argo quietly saved 6 Americans, the world was still holding its breath. 52 more U.S. hostages remained trapped inside the American embassy in Tehran. For 444 agonizing days, the Iranian Revolution had held America hostage on live television every single night. President Jimmy Carter had one last desperate card to play, a daring military rescue straight out of a Hollywood thriller. They called it Operation Eagle Claw. But this time, there would be no movie ending. It all started on November 4, 1979. Radical Iranian students, furious at America for sheltering the deposed Shah, stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. In just hours they took 66 Americans hostage. 13 women and African American staff were soon released, leaving 53, later 52, held in horrifying conditions. Blindfolded, beaten, paraded in front of cameras, their every moment broadcast worldwide. America was powerless, and the world was watching. President Carter tried diplomacy, sanctions, even secret back-channel talks. Nothing worked. The hostages became living symbols of American weakness.
By early 1980, Carter's presidency was on the line. Polls were crashing. The American people demanded action. Behind closed doors, the Pentagon presented one final option: a high-risk special forces raid deep inside Iran. No one had ever attempted anything like this before. Delta Force, America's brand-new counterterrorism unit led by the legendary Colonel Charlie Beckwith, would be the tip of the spear. The plan was audacious, complex, and had almost zero margin for error. They called it Operation Eagle Claw. 8 Navy RH-53DC Stallion helicopters would launch from the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz in the Persian Gulf. They would fly 600 miles low and dark across hostile territory to a remote desert rendezvous point codenamed Desert One. On the night of April 24, 1980, the helicopters lifted off into the darkness. Their mission: reach Desert One, a barren salt flat 250 miles southeast of Tehran. There they would refuel from 4C-130 tanker planes that had already landed secretly. Delta Force commandos would then board the helicopters, fly to a second hide site near Tehran, and launch a lightning raid on the embassy at first light. It was a plan that required perfect timing, perfect weather, and perfect luck. None of those things happened. Here's where the story gets insane. A freak sandstorm, known locally as a haboob, slammed into the formation like a wall of grit and fury. Visibility dropped to zero. Engines clogged with sand. Navigation systems failed. One by one, helicopters turned back. Only 6 made it to Desert One. But the nightmare was just beginning. At the Desert Rendezvous, the remaining helicopters tried to refuel from the C-130 tankers in total darkness. Then disaster struck. One helicopter drifted in the swirling dust and collided with a parked C-130 fuel tanker. A massive fireball exploded across the desert floor. 8 American servicemen, 5 Air Force and 3 Marines, died instantly in the flames. The mission was over before it even reached Tehran. The surviving helicopters were abandoned. The commandos flew home in shame. America had suffered its worst military humiliation since Vietnam. The helicopters left behind became propaganda trophies for Iran. The hostages watched the disaster on smuggled radios and felt their hope die. President Carter appeared on television that same night, taking full responsibility. America was humiliated on the world stage. The rescue attempt had failed, but the story wasn't over. The remaining hostages would stay imprisoned for another 9 agonizing months until the day Ronald Reagan was sworn in as president. Literally minutes after his inauguration, the hostages were finally released. Yet from that fiery failure came something that changed special operations forever. The Holloway Commission investigated every mistake: poor coordination between services, inadequate night-flying training, no dedicated Special Operations Command. Operation Eagle Claw directly led to the creation of U.S. Special Operations Command (SOCOM) in 1987. It forged the modern joint special operations culture that would later hunt Osama bin Laden, rescue hostages worldwide, and become the tip of America's spear. It proved that even the most audacious plans can collapse under sand, bad luck, and poor coordination. Just like Argo showed the power of quiet deception, Eagle Claw showed the brutal cost of getting it wrong when force is your only option. Operation Eagle Claw remains one of the most studied failures in military history, not because it was a defeat, but because the lessons saved countless lives in the decades that followed. It showed both sides how far nations will go in the shadow war, and why sometimes the quietest deceptions are the most powerful. If you love this deep dive into the real story behind the Iran hostage crisis and the birth of modern special forces, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. Next up, the greatest deception in military history, the corpse that fooled Hitler in Operation Mincemeat. Drop your favorite espionage or special ops story in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, stay curious, stay hidden.